You are listening to Craftcast, the podcast, where soul meets craft. We're back, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Okay. In all fairness, Patrick and I have been laughing about what do we want to talk about today? And we just realized because we've been too busy past few weeks to catch up and doing everything. But what's going on? So we thought we'd just do sort of a catch up. You know, it's the beginning of summer. Wasn't it the first day of summer was the 21st, right? The longest day of the year?
I don't remember. I don't know. It's
I
always
think
summer here in
so.
California, so
Oh, yeah, there you go. Never mind. Well, here's something I heard that today was 62626. So you could keep saying that date over and over again,
oh, that's fun.
right? And I thought that was sort of a good thing. So, for me, well, do you remember when you'd be in school and summer break started? Like, what was the first thing you thought of doing?
Oh gosh, I play outside with my friends down the block. I mean, we didn't have an agenda. We just, hi, can Bobby come out and play?
And what did you play? What did you go play
We ran
outside?
around in the street. We'd ride our bikes. Riding our bikes was a big
Right.
deal. Ride our bikes. And there was a field that was down a couple blocks away. And I don't know what was going on with this field, but there was a huge pit in there, and we would take our little
Ooh,
bikes and
that's
ride it
fun.
in the pit and have a
Oh yeah.
fort and, all sorts of stuff like that. And playing with the dog and wrestling in the front yard and dodgeball
Yeah.
and just all that crazy, crazy stuff. And just being observant as kids, looking around and just seeing, oh, why do your parents do that? Oh, I don't know. Why do your parents do that? Oh, I don't know. They're weird. It's like,
But
but
yeah, well, wait a minute. I want to ask you. So that was huge because I've been thinking about this because this is when schools are out and I can tell. There was a feeling of, I don't know the right word. Was it not freedom when school's over? The unknowing, the new, it was a definite different feeling that I realized as an adult I hadn't had in a bunch of years.
yes,
And I've been forced to, with things that changed in my life, allow that and create that. And it's summer. I don't have the right word for it yet, but it's a feeling of sort of unknown, excited, trying to create that feeling. That was like the
anticipation,
last day of, what did you say?
anticipation.
The last day of school, because it was a huge change when you think about it. You went from all day long in school to at home. And I don't know, for me, for sure, you were supposed to be, kids should be seen but not heard or not even seen. You went out in the morning and you're supposed to be back for dinner was basically the
Right,
rule.
right.
Um,
And where we were at some point, I think we were in Michigan, and on the TV at a certain time would come on this scary, scary, public service announcement, and it's like,
do you know
did you know where your children
children
are?
are? That's
And I get
right.
home like, oh my God, I'm right here. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Do
so
you know where your
interesting.
children
I
are?
forgot about that one.
Because yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, now we just misplace them in the back of cars, you know.
right. Well, I'm fortunate to have where I live now a dear friend that I grew up with. So I've known her since, I don't know, fourth grade. Um, and I happened to have been with her yesterday. And I was laughing about how, because I grew up in Connecticut in Weston, which was extremely, 20-acre zoning. So you didn't live near anyone. You were always like sort of had the outside. But we used to, as we got older, like the 13, 14, our thing was, I'll meet you in the woods.
Mhm.
That was the normal thing to go into the
Into
woods.
the woods, yeah.
Yeah. And we weren't, like the song says, and we weren't smoking or doing any marijuana yet or any of that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was our place to be. It was our, you know, club was go into the
Yeah,
woods.
yeah.
And it cracks me up. And so this morning I was coming back for this horse barn where I volunteered to do some rescue horse work, and it's huge property. It used to belong to the Firestone, I think it was called Tire Company. It's like I think I read 800 acres or something. But I was looking out and I was trying to decide that I could feel what woods was comfortable of me to walk in and what woods, no, we didn't do those woods. And it made me laugh because I haven't gone walking in the woods for a billion years, but I still had it in my system like, okay, that looks like familiar woods. And it was it was an opportunity. We're in nature. We talked. I mean, that is so, I love that I had that in my background that way because I think, we need to return to that a bit.
Yeah, and what we did is we used our imaginations.
Yes.
We didn't have the outside influence of, the social media that were pinging in our pockets all the time. And
Right.
so we didn't have that interference in our lives
Right.
that we could just sit there and use our imaginations and, this is a fort and this is an airplane and this is
Right.
whatever it is, right? And
I,
it's interesting. And I think, you're talking about, that feeling. And I remember that being in school. And I think for me, the big difference is when I was in school, summer took forever. It's like I'm waiting for summer, waiting for summer. I was just like, took forever. Now it's like, and here it is, a
yeah,
year has gone by in a
I
snap,
know. I know. Right.
and it's like, holy moly, where did the summer
Yeah.
go?
Yeah. But, also back then, and I think this is good to talk about because I think so many of the good habits we back then were better off bringing them back. And people are younger people wanting to bring them back. But we didn't, especially in the summer, you didn't wake up and start watching TV. At least I didn't. I mean, there might have been really early morning cartoons on. That was it.
On
But then
Saturday.
that's it, Saturday, right. But then it was like in the summer, you got up, there was no TV. And I don't remember really at night. I mean, I remember in the household, the news would be on at 6 or something. There wasn't that distraction for sure.
Yeah, yeah. For me, there was. For me, there definitely
Oh, there
was.
was.
Because my parents bought me my own TV
Oh my gosh.
in my room. I know, and I remember going to school, and I didn't know it was a big deal. And I went to school, and people are talking about whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have my own TV. Nobody believed me. They're like, no, you don't.
Isn't that funny?
I'm like, yes, I do. I had two of them. I actually had them follow me home into my room so I could show them, look, it's a real TV that I have here, and it's color. It's not black and
Oh,
white.
you are way fancy. I
Oh, it
never had
it
any
didn't
of
have a
that.
remote though.
Oh,
That was
well,
over the line.
hello. No, no, TV watching was almost zip for me. I don't think I got a TV again until I was in my like later 20s or something. It just wasn't anything that I thought about, which think of it now. I mean, yeah, I always had the music on.
Yeah. Yeah, the music
That
was
was,
on.
yeah, that was important. And you know what? It's like I'm really been thinking about that at the beginning of the summer, bringing back some of those habits. And it's hard. It's hard to like turn off your phone for an hour.
Right.
It's bad. So I'm trying to like, one day I forgot my phone and I left to go to the gym and I almost turned around and came home and I'm like, no, give it a try, girl. See if
You
you
can
can
do
make
this.
it. Yeah,
It is possible.
it is possible. But I think that, especially as creative people, that it really helps unplugging from that. And what I've noticed is if I have a project behind me in the studio I want to work on, but I have the phone on all the time, it'll use time up that I'm not aware of, as opposed to sitting down and working on a project.
Right.
And that's, so I'm going to do some new habits because I think it's beneficial. And certainly not plugging in the TV and the phone thing a bit will help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. And we never used to have that. And so we weren't really trained when we were younger to do that. And now
Yeah.
everybody is just, they're born with a cell phone,
Yeah, I
like coming out of the
know.
womb.
I
You
know.
know?
I
Coming out of
feel,
the womb. Wah, wah, hello?
yeah,
Texting.
I feel
I'm bored.
bad. I feel bad that they don't know what it's like not to. I love tech and my phone. I love
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But I also know what it's like to not have anything. And they have no experience of that. And that's really scary and difficult. I mean, well, you know my
It'll be a
background,
thing. We'll
so
be the experts in another 10 years on how to turn your phone off. We'll be giving seminars and classes on how to stay away from your phone. What do you do when you don't
well,
have a phone?
why do you think crafting is so big?
Yeah.
I just bought this month's Flow magazine out of it's Netherlands. And they have gone back to doing some English versions. And I want into, because I've been doing what we're talking about and staying away from my phone. Yesterday, I took time and went into Barnes and Noble and I walked around for a long time, not just like quick find that and leave. And I didn't
Yeah.
take my phone out.
Yeah.
And I found a Flow magazine and it was, the cover looked familiar. I think I had the one, but this one said Volume 2 for Mental Health. All creative artists.
Perfect.
Yes. And like the first part is coloring and the second part is stickers, all for mental health. And I thought, I'm going to let myself use the pages. I did it this morning and go through and do things like giving the time for that as opposed to cruising through something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there too, it's like, well, I used to go to Barnes and Nobles and all the time. I mean, that was just a thing.
Right.
And that was how you got a lot of up-to-date information, how you
Yeah.
got to see a lot of different things, without having to, like look at all the magazines. You don't have to
The
buy them. You just
magazines.
stand there and,
Yeah.
look at the
Yeah. Yeah.
magazines, right? But you brought up something, I think that there was a time in our lives that there was a big push towards multitasking, right? It's like multitask. Everybody's got to
Wait, is there
multitask,
another way?
multitask, multitask, multitask. And they found out recently
It's
that
not possible.
multitasking
Yeah.
is slower. And and what you're talking about now is shutting off the phone
Yeah.
and getting that's monotasking, right?
Yeah.
So that has
I
something to
agree.
say,
Yeah.
and I have to hear, I'm experiencing it here where I'm working on these videos and uh, I literally have to shut my door so that, whenever anybody is here, in the studio working on other projects or Stephen or whoever, I'm like, shut the door, turn my do not disturb light on, put on the do not disturb on the computer, and then hunker down and then just sort of get into it and do it, because
It's not easy.
it's no, it's not. And but I found out that if I did it the other way, I just kept getting interrupted all the time. And it's like
Yeah.
the flow of everything and just like, interruption and just stupid stuff that, anybody could think of. And,
Well,
just so
it's
yeah, monotasking. That's our new thing. Learn how to monotask with
I,
Patrik and Alison.
yes, exactly. You know what, though, on another note, I've heard there's more Barnes and Nobles reopening. That's coming back as well.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So that was always one of my safe hangout places that way. And I also think, though, I'm going to say, due to different circumstances, for me, all of a sudden it was quiet, everyone was gone, and I was sitting in 100% total quiet with no tasks needed to be done. I don't recommend doing that. It's a little too stark of a change.
Well, see, no, it's like a muscle, and
Slowly go into it.
you have to
Yeah.
slowly build up,
Yeah.
flex it,
Yeah. Because it's, yeah.
practice, and then eventually you'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So it's, but speaking, like going also back. So, okay. So when I went to art school, I was majoring in photography. Did you do a lot of photography as well
I
back then?
did.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I saw here we have some wonderful little art schools all around me here. And one in July was offering 35 millimeter photography, development of the film, black and white, and then digital printing. I guess not an old fashioned printer. And I thought, I
Interesting.
really want to do that. So that's like my summer vacation, July. It's just like 4 different afternoons or something. But I thought, but first I have to make sure I still have a 35 millimeter camera. I knew I had a Nikon somewhere.
I refuse to throw mine away.
Me,
I
oh, I
mean,
didn't throw it. Me
I
too.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
found it.
remember
So,
when digital first came out, I was like, "Wow, this is really cool and really interesting." But I'm not gonna get rid of my 35 millimeter because I don't know what's going to happen with this new
there's
technology. It
that.
could
Right.
go the way to Betamax.
Right.
It's like,
Listen, I had to dig through old digital cameras to finally find my original Nikon FE2. Then I had to fix the lens that's still too stiff. Then I had to find the batteries to get it working. And then I didn't remember the meter won't turn on unless you advance the film to number two. I mean, I'm like, oh my God.
oh wow,
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm set and I'm doing it. And it was fun. I always loved working with black and white like that. I love darkrooms and all of that. Now, that again is something that is talk about time consuming in a different fun way, but away from what we do now online and all of that. But it was just the act of creating. I don't really care what comes out of it. It was just the act of working in that medium again that was so dear to my heart that sounded like fun to go do.
yeah, yeah, and photography is great, and you know, I think I got introduced to it in my junior high school. Thanks to a lady who lives across the street, who's I call her my second mom. She's great. And she introduced me to photography because she was doing it, and I took it in junior high, and uh, took it in high school, and throughout my career I've did, but I've never like was really a professional photographer or anything like that. But I did develop my own film at home, and I had my own darkroom set up at
Mm-hmm.
home,
Mm-hmm.
and it was what I could
Fun.
afford was this tiny little enlarger that was about
Yeah.
this big, and it was
Yeah.
a fortune at
Yeah.
$125
Oh,
back
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And the other ones were even bigger, and then you got to buy all the chemicals,
Oh, yeah.
and the and right, we didn't have the benefit of having a little screen on the back of our cameras so we could preview
Right.
anything. So we
Right.
had to go out and we had to take photos, and we had to hope, really, really, oh, I hope they turned out. I hope they turned out, right? And then you get the film back, whether you develop it yourself or you go to the, Walgreens, whatever, and you get them, you're like, oh, well, I just spent $300 on all these photos and only a portion of them turned out.
Well, black and white, I still have books of all my contact sheets and everything from things that I did. I
Yeah.
love doing it all. Well, so in this process of finding my Nikon and my Nikkor normal lens of 50 millimeter macro Nikkor was stiff, wouldn't work. Did lots of research, what to do, some oil in there, loosen it up. Then I look online and I see someone sort of locally to me, not too far away, did old repair, no website. I could call them. All right, I'm thinking, I'm just going to call and ask, why not? So back in my day, do you know Sammy's camera?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've
okay.
heard you mention it too, actually.
Right. Okay. So Sammy, I worked for Sammy, and it's online. It's the hugest place. And Sammy really helped me get through art school and help. I worked there selling equipment, setting up dark rooms while I was in art school. And he'd always make sure that if he got a big order or something, I could put my name on it to get the extra bonus money for the price you sold it at or whatever. So he was always fabulous with me. One day he also took me in his new Ferrari Dino. And he was like an older brother to me. He was married and everything. It
Yeah.
wasn't anything but like that. And he took me for a ride, and we went 100 miles an hour on Mulholland Drive. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So now Sammy passed away last year. My dear friends in California, who are my roommates, sent me the newspaper articles. Remember when people would cut those out and put those in the mail to
Hmm.
you?
Yeah.
And I thought that's like, okay. So now I call this phone number to see if someone would answer on the other end and would help me with this Nikkor lens, old vintage stuff. And I get this man, a slight accent, and I tell him what it is. And he's the one that said, put a little W3 of WD 30, 40, whatever it is,
40.
40 in there and work it slowly, slowly. And then somehow I said to him that I used to sell equipment, back then, why I had this one for Sammy's camera. And he said to me, Sammy was a good friend of mine.
Oh,
He had seen him just before he passed away. And he said
wow.
he visited him and he had a yellow Ferrari Dino. And I'm
Uh,
like, I told him the story about the red one. But how does the frig talk about the universe supplying something, and
Right.
finding a random person I call to talk about a camera thing and bring up him. And he's like, yeah, he was a dear friend of mine. I get goosebumps thinking about it. So it was so nice to share with him back and forth about Sammy for a bit after that. All about old camera equipment back in the day in Sammy's, because again, we didn't have phones and everything we did. I used to call them, the old geezers would come in and talk camera equipment, collect Leicas. They were more into the equipment and having the different things and knowing all the bits and bobs about it than actually the
Yeah.
pictures. But I learned tons from them. I mean, I have a ridiculous knowledge over Leicas and Nikons and you name it. But it was fun to return to something that takes some time, not just click, rig, Photoshop. I love both.
Right.
I'm not putting it down. I love
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But so I'm excited. Here's I even have it out right here.
Hmm.
My Nikon FE2
Wow. Look at
ready to
that.
go. Yeah. So loaded with some film. It works. So
They
I'm
still
looking.
sell 35 minutes.
Well, that's the thing. I went on Amazon. Of course, you could find someone selling some Tri-X because I thought
Yeah, yeah,
I wanted to know my camera totally worked or I wasn't going to
yeah.
sign up for this class. So I got some film. I had to look up though, in manuals and look up online because I couldn't remember. How do you open this? That. I mean, it's a lot of bits and bobs I'd forgotten about.
Yeah, you gotta fit a little thing through and you
Yeah,
advance it and shut it
exactly.
and yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a
I
lot
used
of
to
little.
I used to I used to there was this photography place in downtown San Francisco. I don't remember what the name of it is. Maybe no, I want to say it was B&H, but I know it was not B&H.
It could have
Um,
been.
and I would go in there and I would, get all this stuff and then buy all this film. And this guy says, "Oh yeah, well you're buying a lot of film. Have you ever thought just buying it in bulk?" And I was like,
Right? I just the
"What do
big
you mean
squares.
buying it
Yeah,
in bulk?"
you're right.
In my mind, I thought, okay, he's going to hand me, and it's going to be a box of 100 canisters, right?
Oh,
And he hands me this one
a,
box,
a
and I'm
brick.
like,
Yeah,
"What is that?" He's like,
yeah.
"There's 100 feet of 35 millimeter film in here, and then
Oh,
this is the container that it
oh,
goes in." Right. So you put that in the container and it's all light proof. Then you take the little cassette
you
and you
cut
put
your
it
own.
inside there, shut the door, you wind it up and you count 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have 32 or however many would fit in there. And then you pull it out, you cut it, you do the whole
Yeah,
thing. It was like,
I forgot about that. Yeah. No, yeah,
and
I'm
the only thing I didn't
excited
do is
though.
make my own film and make my own paper.
Hey, you being
Now we probably
totally,
can.
well, I took alternate emulsions. That was big too. B Nettles, I think that's her name, did beautiful. I took a
Huh.
workshop for there, and that was, excuse me, making your own emulsions for your paper and printing on that. And yeah, all great. I mean, listen, Photoshop does this stuff, but it's still never going to be as organic possibilities than when you did it for real.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that, and I think that too, with all the new AI apps out there, and everything is happening so fast, and everything looks so, can look so beautiful. You don't really have the understanding of what's happening behind the scenes and why it looks so good. You know, whereas whereas when we were looking at back in the day, before it was a big deal, right? You had to do everything pre-production because you didn't want to do
Right,
anything in post-production because
right,
that would cost extra money,
right.
right? And so we
That's
would do
right.
everything
That's
in
right.
pre-production. So you'd have to really think about the lighting
Oh,
and,
yeah,
you know, depth of field and the whole thing. And, I remember art directing some shoots and I'd be literally saying to the guy, like we would do these food shots, right?
right.
And we were doing this thing for olive company. And so they had these little stuffed olives with red pimentos in them. So we're shooting it and doing this whole promotion and everything. And I'm looking at it going, it doesn't look right. I don't know what's the problem. And then I realized, oh, the problem is I can't see enough pimentos.
Yeah.
And I know that the client is going to want to see more pimentos. So we literally opened up the jar. Me and him had
Oh,
long
yeah.
little skewers, and we were trying to position each one
Sure.
of, to make sure that it was faced forward
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And, one time I was doing this Thanksgiving shoot, and, we had to have a food stylist. Okay, great, food stylist, wonderful. But she comes in, and she was prepared. She was a professional. She was prepared. She had three turkeys, complete
Oh,
turkeys that were
absolutely. Yep. Yep.
fully cooked.
Yep.
One was a little bit lighter,
Yep. Yep.
one was
Yep.
in
Yep.
the medium, and one
Oh,
was a
yeah.
little bit darker.
Yep.
And they were all covered with lacquer, so you couldn't eat them, but they were
Right.
still real turkeys, right?
Yep.
Because you didn't want to go in afterwards and try and have somebody airbrush, the 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 image or the film or whatever, you happen to be on. And now it happens so fast. And,
Oh,
you're just like, okay, don't forget about those pimentos. You can just fix that in post.
well, we were doing when I was working on even some car stuff, but other catalog stuff, we were shooting sheet film with a eight and a half, 8x10 or a 4x5. That meant the black cover over your head. So you
Hmm.
had to each piece, it was one piece of film you loaded
Hmm.
in. You
Yep.
took the slide up. You wanted it to be perfect. There wasn't any, that was it. Put
Yep.
that in, take it around, turn it around, shoot one more. Um, so I
I
think that
love
was
that.
great. I do too. I mean, I
I think that's so
still am
cool.
that way because I was so trained that way. I mean, so that's still there. The only difference is you don't have to process any film. You can look at it right away and see if you
Right, right.
if it
Yeah,
works.
speaking of which, I saw a few months ago, somebody had developed, the old 8x10 cameras, right? They were
Yes,
huge, right? The
they're
film
huge.
piece of film was this big, right?
Yeah,
Well, they had taken the same concept of a digital camera and made it huge. And because it was so huge, the whatever it is, the sensors were so huge that it enabled them to take a photograph at a much, much higher pixel amount.
I'm
And so
sure.
with the combination of the 8x10 camera and the lenses and the bellows and all that, he was able to snap on, because you used to have this little cartridge, right, that you would slide in the
Yeah,
back of the
your
camera.
slide holder. Yep,
And so basically that's what he did. He slid that
the film
sensor
holder
back
and oh,
there, and then he was just producing all of these images, from this
interesting.
sensor. I was like, wow, that's actually kind of interesting. I don't know what the end result, if he, I'm sure he did it all digitally and then everything in Photoshop, but you know, the
Oh,
day when we were in the dark room, and
I
you're in the
yeah.
dark room and you're dodging and burning and
Oh
you're
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it did
Love
timing
it.
and,
Love it.
it did.
One of at Art Center, you had to shoot 4x5, and there was creative, but there was also technical. And one of the technical things in with your 4x5 was you had to shoot a landscape, but every corner had to be perfectly in focus. And when I mean perfectly in focus, our
That's
teacher, I forget
hard to
his
do with
name, it
those
was,
cameras.
oh yeah, you had to do your swings and your tilts. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
so I can't remember his name, but I loved him. And he was the person, he'd take your negative and with a 20x loop, go down with a loop and look at your negative to see if it was crystal clear before you'd pass. Um, but that being said, I still really, you learn things though, that one of the, I think the best things for me is what I learned is when something's not working, like in Photoshop or whatever, I understand conceptually why and how to fix it. Uh,
Yeah.
and so that we learned back then. But the shooting, I remember my first day shooting with the 4x5. I put my slide film holder in the back, a click close. I took out my slide. I took a picture. I put the slide in, and the film popped into the bellows of the camera. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
yeah, happened twice. It wasn't going well for me in the beginning. I thought that could have ended my career right there. Uh, but it was great equipment and stuff to play with. And then you could do what was called contact prints right from it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. That didn't require an enlarger. That's why I like that.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those big negatives that
Oh, yeah.
big and
I have a
yeah.
little book somewhere in there. I actually made it into a little book, laminated and everything of all those kind of prints. It was great. So, uh, for fun, not doing scrolling and social media, I would go out with my roommate friend and we would say, let's go out and do pictures. We would just go, we were in LA, beach, Point Lobo, someplace, and just go take pictures was the activity.
Yeah, yeah, we totally did that too. And as a matter of fact, one of my second oldest friend, he actually lives now in the same town that I do, which is really great. And he had found some old photos when we used to live back in San Francisco, right? And we were both in our 20s, and he had super long curly hair, and he was
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
buff. And so he's like, yeah, take some pictures of me. So we would go out to the
Oh,
these
yeah.
abandoned
Yep. Yep.
warehouses, and they were like, okay, this is great. Look at chain link, and you're on the chain link, and doing
It
the
was
whole
fun.
thing. Oh yeah, and that's what you would do.
Yeah.
That was and then
It
you
was
drive to the next place and think about doing it again, and you know,
creative people when you're young like that, that's what you do. You can't really see it, but over my shoulder in a sort of a light brown frame is a black and white picture. I can see it right there. That picture was taken of me in art school by someone, 4 by 5, sitting in a butterfly chair, just posed. Perfect portrait. But that was our fun was being creative.
yeah, yeah, and that was one of the things when I was looking at Art Center. And I was looking at the different tracks I could take, and photography was one of them. And I was talking to one of the students there, and I think that was the first time I really got how photography or any medium can really communicate more than what it's just what you see visually. I guess I don't know if that makes any sense, but the assignment was to do uh, take a product and show all different ways to entice somebody to use that product, but they all have to be a real way, right? So you would do ice cream, and you could have ice cream at the beach, or you could
Right,
do ice
right, right,
cream at
right,
home in front of the
right, right, right,
TV, right?
right,
That
right.
sort of thing. Well, this guy did a self-portrait. He's like, I'm going to do a self-portrait. And he went in and he looked at all the different aspects of his life, and he got dressed up in all these different outfits to represent the different aspects of his life. And he walked away and he had these 12 photos of him in different aspects of his life. And he was able to use that when he was showing his portfolio. And he was able to tell a story about, here I am in the photography room, and this is, what I do with photography. But I also, work on cars, and here's
I
this
love
thing, and I
it.
use the photography in my car to do this. And
I
so it's
love it.
like the first time where I really saw like the whole combination of working instead of just making something pretty. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, here's the reason why, and here's the meaning behind it, right? And here's the impact it can have when somebody's just looking at it. And so there's whole thought process behind it.
I love what you just said. Show my portfolio. I mean, remember those days? I
Oh
still
God.
have the last one I had made because there was a place I think it was in Brooklyn that you would go to. You'd pick your color leather. Mine was red. I had my signature I'd use forever, and they put it on top, and it's a box, and then the portfolio comes out of it. And it was a whole thing, your presentation with your portfolio. But someone asked me, what was it? Oh, I was on a metal clay, I think it was, I think it was polymer clay society, and I was the speaker, and they wanted to know how I picked teachers for Craftcast and all that. And it made me think, and the short answer of it was, I basically review portfolios. It's the same thing. And
Mhm.
if I look at your portfolio and I see your style, I mean, back when I was art director, like Friday afternoons was the day to leave your portfolios for art directors to look through,
Mhm.
buckets of them. And I learned that, looking at portfolios, and I realized I still do that organically, even though we don't call it portfolios anymore, to see if I resonate or want to work with the style that that person is trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's from back in the days of looking at portfolios.
Yeah. Yeah. And back in the days, you know what else we did? We did editing.
Yeah,
We edited stuff out. We didn't just put all the crap on one place. It's like we really had to go in and we had to look at, 25 different photos of the
yeah,
same thing
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
see the differences in each one
Oh, yeah.
and notice what best represents that
Oh,
product or client to make sure that It resonates with the people who are seeing it,
And
right? And
that's
it's like,
that's the skill of art directors, though. I mean, I know for me, I'd come home from a 10-day photo shoot, fashion, J. Crew or whatever.
yeah,
And that was like 500 rolls of 36 millimeter or about. And then I had to edit it. And I had the bulk loader where you put it in. But I could catch the right thing. Just keep it going, stop. That's it. I mean, I was really good at being able to edit and catch the one that made it
mm,
into it. But talk about editing, man. It was hundreds and hundreds of takes that you'd
yeah.
pick out the best.
And then
Um,
after you get the ones for that particular photo that you're looking for, right? Then you have all the other photos that you're looking for, and you have to make a decision. Okay, well, which one of these? All of them are really good, but which one do we, have to put in the catalog? What are the
yeah,
best ones to put in this ad or this catalog or
yeah,
whatever it is? But I think again, it's really like, I say this as like to people when they're first learning design. It's like you really have to look at a lot of design, and you really have to take a critical eye
yeah.
and train your
It's
eye
trained. Yeah,
to see certain things,
correct.
and today I don't see how, with all of the stimulus that comes from
A good
everywhere
point.
in just one photograph,
Yeah,
it's like it's more and more difficult to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. I agree with you 100%. I was so trained. I was fast to edit and also knowing, looking. The funny part is in my life now, every day, I can't walk back by anything and not move something, maybe like right now, half an inch, because that looks better. I'm telling you, it's all the time. I have to move something slightly this way because the eye's not seeing it right.
Right.
And my son's, my fiance, Alexa, came in here and it's chock full. But she said, everything is so like perfectly organized. And I laughed. I'm like, it's just all set up for a photo shoot at any time.
Yeah.
You just are so used to that. No, there's too much tension in that space between those two things slightly moving.
And
Hey,
and so you don't even think about it. I mean, I don't think about
no,
it. It's just like I'm just dit, 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 and
yeah,
then
I know
you're
you.
done,
I know
and
your
then yeah,
photos. I know. I know. You're trained in that. It's good training.
it
It's,
is.
yeah,
It
and
is.
it's quick. You can make decisions quick from that training we had from those days of doing all of that.
Well, it's all basic design, right?
It
I mean,
is.
it's
Yeah,
really when you
right,
really think about it, the skills that we're using are all in basic design that are applied to either graphic design or to photography or whatever.
right.
And so knowing the basic design, and I say this a lot in my classes, it's like, in my experience, I've always been in the creative industry, from my very first job. I mean, besides babysitter and,
Right, right. I know. Yeah,
flipping burgers, right?
right,
But I started out in fashion, and then I just went to all these different creative types of industries with, marketing being a really big portion of my career, marketing and advertising and design, and then getting into jewelry, but I've dabbled in
so you could use it. Right,
interior design and,
right.
fashion and all that kind of stuff. And I realized, oh, all the skills that I've learned are now building upon each other, and that they're all different in their own industry, but the basics of design remain the same,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it's a matter of being able to, articulate that design and understand why that design is good. Then you can take that and you can apply it anywhere you want, And so I think that, with you and doing everything that is like Stephen calls it a tableau. You're doing a tableau.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and I go in, I will move that thing like what you're talking about. And I love taking food pics, right? And so I'm one of those people that'll take food pics. And so wherever we are, I'll take a food pic. But, I'll be damned if that, dirty fork is going to be in the
Oh,
picture. I'm going to
please. Yeah.
take that
Oh,
out, right?
yeah.
That's going to move. And it's like,
Yeah.
Stephen, can you move your chair a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I'm the same way. Yeah. I'm 100% the same way. I was fortunate enough to be able to take design with Milton Glaser. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I bow down.
If
I
anybody
went,
doesn't know about Milton Glaser,
yeah,
look him
look him
up
up.
and the contributions that he's made to design. Amazing.
His most famous, I Love New York, The Heart. And
Yeah.
that was famous, but I mean, I get goosebumps. And I literally started in that class, Patrick, as probably the worst student. Like, I don't know what design is. And then I was like, what? And then I became teacher's pet by the end, I can say. I was like, it was like literally a door open to understanding what needs to be put in and the elements. And it was a mind changer one for me. It blew my mind as far as
Yeah.
design is concerned. How to start conceptualizing something in design.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was something else. Always good. All right. Well, what do we close with? What's something? Let's pretend that school ending tomorrow at
School is
noon.
out.
School's out.
Yeah.
What's something you're going to do in the old fashioned ways we used to think that'll be good for your heart and soul summer vacation?
Mm, probably, probably visit a park that's close to me so I could take a nice little hike or a walk or something like that. And maybe bring my camera with me. Maybe an analog camera, not a digital one. Go find my analog
Do it.
and go out there and take some photos and you know.
Do it. I'm telling
Now,
you, it
I don't
feels
know
so
where to get
good.
anything developed though. That's the thing. It's like I would take black and whites. Well, I don't know. Is
Tape.
Walgreen at black and whites? You got to send it somewhere.
I'll tell you what, I'm sure, and I'm willing to. I got rid of all my little tins that you used to put, the wheels you put the film on, you feed it in,
Hmm.
and then you do that. I'm
Yeah.
sure that he's going to have that because we're developing a on film. I have no problem. I should get my dear friends, college roommates. I don't know if I think he already donated all of his stuff because using black and white and doing all the original darkroom stuff is coming back into style as well. But I wouldn't mind owning one of those again and doing some of that. It's pretty friggin' fun.
I don't know if I before I moved to this house, which was probably about 4 years ago, I still had some of those because I didn't want to
Look
throw them
around.
away. Yeah,
Look
so
around.
I will see. I might have thrown those out and just kept the developing trays or something. But
Yeah, that's
I
good
would
too.
find these things in the secondhand store all the
I,
time, and online, and people, and it's the canister, either the metal
the
canister,
metal canister and
or
some trays for if well you don't need the trays. I'm not going to start printing, but the metal
yeah,
canister to develop the film.
yeah, and then you need your what is it called? Light-proof bag, right? Which looked like a t-shirt, right? Except it's zipped
Right.
up and then you
Oh,
put your
with your
hands
hands
through
in
it
it.
and then you
Right.
had to take it
That's
out of the
right.
canister and then
That's
put it
right.
on the film
Or a
thing.
red light in your rooms. That was a safe red light. Wasn't it red? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm not sure that works for film. I think that's only for paper. I'm
Good
not sure it
point.
works for
See, I'll be
film.
finding
I
all
have
this
to.
out. So I really hope this class runs because that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to play with camera and developing and enjoy the process. And I know I'm also going to, and I've already started, make specific time set aside to read a book, fiction,
Hmm.
because I used to be a book lover. And now I find myself always going to my phone. So I've already been starting that. And I already got another book that my friend that I've known forever recommended. And to give my time the privilege and the grace of just being able to read a book.
Nice. I like that.
We'll see what happens. So, everyone, think about something you want to do for a little summer break. Because to me, reading a book feels like being on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely transports you to another place, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, it's all good. All right. Well, report in next week, sir. Let's see how it's all going.
Okay.
It's
I am gonna
always
see if
fun
I can find my
chatting.
camera right now
Go
and
find
see
your
if I
go look. I
yeah,
had to
yeah.
really look, and I it was what was shocking is how much equipment I found before I found 35 millimeter camera. And it was like the digital stuff I've had for years. So many digitals we've gone through that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's yeah. And I'm
Yeah, I
sure
can go to
there's
the
more.
museum now.
It's very overwhelming, but whatever. We had fun with all of it. We just
Oh,
keep
totally.
moving on. Just keeps changing. And now I've gone backwards to the original. So we'll see. All right,
Full
honey.
circle, baby, full circle.
Exactly. All
All
right.
right.
Talk to you again soon, honey.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Have a fun summer.
I hope you enjoyed today's chat. You can follow us and subscribe at Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And please take a look at all our amazing video tutorials at craftcast.com.